Dr. Lisa Martinez floated near the observation window of the Federation research ship Stellar Dawn, watching the stars drift past in the endless black of space. She had been part of the Galactic Federation for 3 years now, one of only 50 humans allowed to work alongside alien species on deep space missions. Most days she felt like she was proving herself over and over again, showing that humans belonged among the stars despite being the youngest species in the Federation. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Captain Jake Morrison's voice echoed through the corridors, calling all senior staff to the bridge. Lisa pushed off from the wall and glided down the hallway, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor as she walked. The bridge buzzed with activity. Alien crew members moved between stations, their various forms creating a colorful display of Federation diversity. The tall, blue-skinned Zephyrians worked alongside the insect-like Andromedians, while smaller species darted between the larger, ones like schools of fish. "What do we have, Commander?" Captain Morrison asked as he settled into his command chair. His weathered face showed the kind of calm confidence that made Lisa proud to serve under him. Commander Ryan Blake, the mission's military leader, pointed to the main screen. Long-range sensors picked up something unusual in the Kepler 442 system. "It's big, Captain. Really big." The screen flickered and showed a distant asteroid field. At first, Lisa saw nothing unusual, just floating rocks drifting in the darkness. Then the sensors adjusted, and she gasped. Hidden among the asteroids was a massive structure easily 10 times larger than their own ship. "Is it a space station?" Morrison asked. Veltar, the lead Zephyrian scientist, studied his readings with 4 eyes while his tentacles worked the controls. "Negative, Captain. The design matches no known Federation architecture. The materials are unknown to our database." Lisa moved closer to get a better look. The structure had a sleek, organic appearance, like it had been grown rather than built. Strange patterns covered its hull, flowing lines that seemed to shift and move when she wasn't looking directly at them. "How old is it?" she asked. Veltar's tentacles writhed, a sign of uncertainty among his people. "Initial scans suggest extreme age, perhaps millions of years. But there is interference. Our sensors cannot penetrate the hull." Captain Morrison stood up, his decision already made. "We investigate. Prep the shuttle bay. I want a full survey team ready in 30 minutes. 2 hours later, Lisa found herself suited up and floating toward the mysterious vessel. The survey shuttle carried a mixed crew of humans and aliens, each bringing their own expertise to the mission. Through her helmet visor, the ancient ship grew larger and larger until it filled her entire view. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Colonel Amy Watson over the radio. "It's beautiful." The ship's hull gleamed with an inner light that had nothing to do with their shuttle's external lights. The flowing patterns seemed more pronounced up close, creating intricate designs that hurt to look at for too long. Lisa felt drawn to touch it, to make contact with something so ancient and mysterious. The shuttle docked with what appeared to be an airlock, though the design was unlike anything in Federation records. Crixon, the Andromedian engineer, spent 20 minutes trying to open it with standard Federation tools. Nothing worked. "The material is incredibly dense," Crixon clicked in his native language, which Lisa's translator converted to standard Federation speech. "My equipment cannot even scratch it." Lisa floated closer to the sealed door. Something about the patterns caught her attention. They seemed to pulse with a faint rhythm, like a heartbeat. Without thinking, she reached out and placed her gloved hand against the surface. The moment her palm made contact, everything changed. The ship came alive with brilliant light, and a deep harmonic sound filled the vacuum around them. The airlock dilated open like a living thing, revealing a corridor beyond that glowed with soft, welcoming light. The entire survey team stared in amazement. Veltar's scanner devices went wild with readings they had never seen before. The ancient ship was responding, but only to Lisa's touch. "How did you do that?" Captain Morrison asked over the radio. Lisa stared at her hand, then at the open doorway. "I don't know. I just felt like I should touch it." They entered the ship carefully, weapons ready despite the peaceful appearance. The corridors were sized, for human-like beings, with smooth walls that provided their own light. The air was breathable, somehow perfectly matched to Federation standard atmosphere. As they moved deeper into the ship, Lisa noticed that control panels and doorways responded to her presence. Lights brightened when she approached and sealed passages opened at her touch. The other team members could walk through the areas she had activated, but they couldn't trigger any responses themselves. "This is impossible," Veltar muttered, running scans on every surface. The ship shows no power source, yet it clearly has energy. The technology is beyond anything in Federation records. They reached what appeared to be the main bridge. It was a vast circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. When Lisa stepped onto it, the entire room came alive. Holographic displays appeared in the air around them, showing star charts and data streams in languages none of them recognized. Then something touched Lisa's mind. It wasn't painful or frightening, more like a gentle hand reaching out to make contact. Images flashed before her eyes, vast fleets of ships like this one, beings of incredible power and knowledge, and Earth as it appeared millions of years ago. She collapsed to her knees as the visions overwhelmed her. Captain Morrison and Amy Watson rushed to help her, but she waved them away. The contact felt important, like something she needed to experience. "Lisa, talk to me," Morrison said, his voice tight with concern. "It's trying to communicate," she whispered. "This ship has been waiting for us, waiting for humans." The holographic display shifted, showing new images. Earth appeared in the center of the room, rotating slowly. Then other worlds, dozens of them, each marked with symbols that pulsed with meaning Lisa couldn't quite understand. "We need to get back to the ship," Blake said. "Report this to Federation Command." But as they prepared to leave, Lisa felt the ship's presence in her mind grow stronger. It didn't want her to go. There was so much more to show her, so much to teach. The ancient vessel had been sleeping for countless ages, and now it was finally awake. The discovery would change everything for humanity and the Federation. But as Lisa took one last look at the glowing bridge before they returned to their shuttle, she realized this was only the beginning. The ship had chosen her, chosen humanity, for reasons she was only starting to understand. Lisa Martinez sat in the medical bay of the Stellar Dawn, electrodes attached to her temples while Dr. Kevin Thompson ran another brain scan. 3 days had passed since their discovery of the ancient ship, and she hadn't been the same since. The visions came constantly now, flooding her mind with images and knowledge she shouldn't possess. "The neural activity is off the charts," Dr. Thompson muttered, studying the readouts. "Lisa, you're processing information at a rate that should be impossible for human brains." She closed her eyes and saw star maps spanning the entire galaxy, marked with symbols that somehow made perfect sense to her now. "It calls itself the Harbinger," she said softly. "And there's something else, an intelligence. It calls itself Guardian." Captain Morrison paced nearby, his face creased with worry. "The Federation Council is demanding answers. Ambassador Velthun wants to know why the ship responds only to humans. They're sending a full scientific team." Lisa opened her eyes. "They won't be able to access it. Guardian is very specific about who it talks to." "And who is that?" Morrison asked. "Humans. Only humans. We're different somehow. Special." The word felt strange on her tongue, but she knew it was true. The visions had shown her fragments of an ancient plan, something vast and complicated that spanned millions of years. Commander Blake entered the medical bay, his expression grim. "The Federation fleet just arrived. 12 ships, including the Centauri Alliance flagship. They want immediate access to the alien vessel." Morrison sighed. "How long until they're in position?" 6 hours. And Captain, they're not just scientists. I'm reading weapon signatures on half those ships." Lisa stood up quickly, pulling the electrodes from her head. "We have to get back to the Harbinger. Guardian wants to show me something important." "Absolutely not," Dr. Thompson protested. "These neural changes could be dangerous. We don't know what that thing is doing to your brain." But Lisa was already moving toward the door. The pull from the ancient ship had grown stronger each day, like a voice calling her home. It's not dangerous. It's trying to teach me. Us. Humanity. 2 hours later, Lisa floated through the corridors of the Harbinger with a new team of Federation scientists. The Zephyrian xenoarchaeologist Felnock tried repeatedly to activate the ship's systems, but nothing responded to his touch. The Andromedian physicist Trixval attempted to interface using quantum resonance devices, but the ship remained silent. "This is highly irregular," complained Ambassador Velthun, his tall frame barely fitting through the human-sized doorways. "No single species should have exclusive access to such technology." Lisa ignored him and placed her hand on what she now knew was the ship's central control matrix. Immediately, the Harbinger came alive around them. Holographic displays filled the air with data streams and star charts. But this time something new appeared. A figure materialized in the center of the bridge. Tall, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its features were refined, almost ethereal, with large eyes that held wisdom beyond measure. When it spoke, the words formed directly in everyone's mind. "I am Guardian, keeper of the progenitor legacy. I have waited 27 million years for the return of the inheritors." The Federation scientists gasped and began frantically scanning the hologram. Their equipment showed nothing but empty space where the figure stood. "Inheritors?" Ambassador Velthun demanded. "What does this mean?" Guardian's attention focused on Lisa, ignoring the alien diplomat entirely. "Your species carries the genetic markers we left behind. You are our children, designed to continue our work when the time was right." Lisa felt knowledge flooding her mind. Images of a vast civilization that once spanned the galaxy. Beings of incredible power and wisdom who had transcended physical existence. The progenitors had left behind their technology, hidden in ships like the Harbinger, waiting for their chosen successors to claim it. "Impossible," breathed Dr. Kevin Thompson, who had insisted on joining the expedition. "You're saying humans were artificially created?" "Not created," Guardian corrected. "Guided. Your evolution was carefully influenced over millions of years. Your neural structure, your emotional range, your capacity for both logic and intuition, all designed traits." The Federation team erupted in protests and demands for proof, but Guardian remained focused on the humans. With a gesture, it activated new sections of the ship that had been sealed before. Corridors opened, revealing laboratories, workshops, and vast databases of information. "This knowledge is yours by right of inheritance," Guardian said to Lisa, "but it comes with responsibility." The progenitors' greatest fear was that their technology would fall into hands that would use it for conquest rather than protection. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Watson, who had remained quiet until now, stepped forward. "What kind of technology are we talking about?" Guardian gestured, and new holograms appeared. Starships that could cross the galaxy in minutes, weapons that could reshape matter itself, and manufacturing systems that could build entire worlds. The Federation scientists stared in amazement and growing alarm. "The humans cannot be allowed to monopolize such power," Ambassador Velthun declared. "The Federation Council will never permit it." Guardian's expression didn't change, but the ship around them seemed to pulse with energy. "Your Federation has no authority here. This technology belongs to humanity alone. Other species have had their chances over the millennia. None proved worthy." "Worthy of what?" Lisa asked. "To inherit not just our tools, but our purpose. The galaxy faces challenges your current civilizations cannot imagine. Dark forces that consumed our civilization still exist in the void between stars. Only humanity possesses the unique combination of traits needed to stand against them." The revelation sent shockwaves through the mixed group. Dr. Thompson was recording everything, while the Federation scientists argued among themselves about the implications. Commander Blake moved closer to Lisa, his hand resting on his weapon. "What do you need from us?" Lisa asked Guardian. "Time. The awakening process cannot be rushed. More of your kind must come here to learn. The ship will teach them as it teaches you. But beware. Others will try to stop this," Fear makes even civilized beings dangerous. As if summoned by those words, Captain Morrison's voice crackled over their communicators. Survey team, return immediately. The Federation fleet is powering weapons and demanding we hand over all humans on the alien vessel. Guardian nodded gravely. It begins, as it always does. They will try to take by force what they cannot claim by right. But the Harbinger has defenses your Federation cannot imagine. Lisa felt the ship's power flowing around her, vast and ancient and protective. For the first time since the discovery, she felt truly safe. Humanity had found its inheritance, but now they would have to fight to keep it. The Federation had made its position clear: share the technology or face the consequences. But Guardian had made its position equally clear: the progenitor legacy belonged to humanity alone. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. As they prepared to return to the stellar dawn, Lisa realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer the youngest species in the Federation. They were about to become something far more dangerous: the inheritors of the galaxy's most ancient and powerful civilization. Captain Susan Davis stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Liberty, watching the massive Federation fleet form a blockade around the ancient vessel. 12 alien warships held position in a perfect sphere, their weapons trained on both the Harbinger and the small human force that had rushed to support the Discovery team. Status report, she ordered her tactical officer. Federation ships are maintaining position, but weapons are hot, Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez reported. They're jamming all communications except on military channels. The Stellar Dawn is trapped inside the blockade. Susan had received the emergency transmission from Captain Morrison 6 hours ago, requesting immediate military support. The message had been brief but clear. Humanity had discovered something extraordinary, and the Federation wanted to take it away from them. Earth Command had responded by sending every available ship, but their small fleet looked pathetic compared to the alien armada. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Ambassador Velthun, her communications officer announced. The main screen flickered to life, showing the tall, imposing figure of the Centauri Alliance representative. His usually calm demeanor showed cracks of frustration and anger. Captain Davis, I order you to withdraw your forces immediately and surrender all human personnel aboard the alien vessel. This technology poses a threat to galactic stability. Susan kept her expression neutral. With respect, Ambassador, humans discovered the ship. We have first claim rights under Federation law. Federation law does not apply to weapons of mass destruction, Velthun snapped. Our analysis suggests this vessel possesses technology that could destroy entire star systems. No single species can be trusted with such power. Before Susan could respond, something incredible happened. The Harbinger began to glow with brilliant light, and a massive energy field expanded outward from its hull. The Federation ships immediately opened fire, unleashing devastating volleys of plasma cannons and photon torpedoes. The weapons struck the energy field and simply disappeared, absorbed without creating so much as a ripple. The ancient ship's defenses made the Federation's most advanced weapons look like toys. My God, whispered Dr. Alan Foster from his position at the science station. The power readings are off our instruments. That shield is stronger than anything we've ever seen. On the main screen, Ambassador Velthun's face had gone pale. The Federation fleet was firing everything they had at the Harbinger, but their attacks had no effect whatsoever. The ancient ship just hung there in space, completely untouchable. Then Guardian's voice filled every ship in the area, human and alien alike. The ancient intelligence spoke directly into their minds, its words carrying absolute authority. Cease your attacks. This aggression serves no purpose. The Harbinger cannot be harmed by weapons of this age. The Federation fleet stopped firing, but their ships remained in attack formation. Susan could see the confusion and fear on Ambassador Velthun's face as he realized the situation had moved beyond his control. We demand immediate access to this technology, he transmitted on all frequencies. The Galactic Federation will not allow humanity to upset the balance of power. Guardian's response was swift and final. The Federation has no authority over progenitor technology. This legacy belongs to humanity alone. Any further aggressive actions will be met with appropriate defensive measures. To demonstrate its point, the Harbinger's weapon systems came online for the first time. Energy signatures that made Federation battleships look primitive began building across the ancient vessel's hull. But instead of attacking, Guardian did something even more impressive. 24 additional ships materialized out of nowhere, appearing in flashes of silver light around the Harbinger. Each one was identical to the first, massive and gleaming with the same flowing patterns across their hulls. The Federation blockade suddenly found itself outnumbered and completely outgunned. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez gasped. "Sensors show these ships have been hiding in subspace pockets throughout the system. They were here all along, just waiting." Guardian's voice returned calm and patient despite the escalating tension. "These are merely the Guardians assigned to this sector. There are thousands more throughout the galaxy, all awakening now that humanity has claimed their inheritance." Ambassador Velthun's transmission cut through the stunned silence. "This is madness. You're giving weapons of unimaginable power to a species that has barely reached the stars." "Humanity has already proven their worth," Guardian replied. "When your weapons failed to penetrate our defenses, they did not escalate. When offered ultimate power, they chose to learn rather than destroy. This wisdom is why they were chosen." Susan felt a strange tingling in her mind, and suddenly she could sense the Harbinger's presence. It was offering her something: knowledge, power, a connection to something vast and ancient. She looked around her bridge and saw similar expressions of wonder on her human crew members' faces. Dr. Foster spoke first, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, I can understand their technology. The ship is teaching me how their faster-than-light drive works. It's not just faster than Federation engines, it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Engineer Rodriguez nodded, her hands moving over her console with newfound expertise. "The power systems are incredible. They draw energy directly from quantum fluctuations in space itself. Clean, unlimited, and completely safe." But it was Dr. Kevin Thompson, who had been transferred to the Liberty during the crisis, who made the most startling discovery. The genetic modifications the progenitors made to humanity. They're not just about intelligence or neural capacity. They encoded specific activation triggers that respond to their technology. We're literally designed to interface with these systems. The revelation sent shockwaves through both fleets. The Federation had always wondered why humans seemed to solve problems differently than other species, why they could adapt to new situations faster than races with centuries more experience. Now they had their answer. Guardian's voice took on a tone of satisfaction. The progenitors faced a choice at the end of their civilization. They could preserve themselves in pure energy form, or they could ensure their legacy continued through worthy successors. They chose to create humanity as their inheritors. "But why humans?" Ambassador Velthun demanded. "What makes this species so special?" "Observe," Guardian replied simply. The Harbinger's defenses suddenly dropped, leaving it apparently vulnerable to the Federation fleet. Every human in both fleets felt their hearts skip a beat as the ancient ship exposed itself to attack. But the Federation commanders hesitated, despite their overwhelming firepower and the perfect opportunity to destroy the source of humanity's new advantage. They couldn't bring themselves to fire on an undefended target. The pause lasted only seconds, but it was enough to prove Guardian's point. Compassion coupled with strength, the ancient intelligence explained, as the shields reactivated. The ability to show mercy, even when holding ultimate power. This quality is rare in the galaxy. Most species would have used our weapons to conquer their enemies by now. Captain Susan Davis felt the weight of that responsibility settling on her shoulders. Humanity had been given the keys to the galaxy's most advanced technology, but with it came the burden of using it wisely. "What happens now?" she asked Guardian. "Now you learn. The Harbinger will teach your people to use progenitor technology properly. Other ships will reveal themselves to worthy humans across the galaxy. And when you are ready, you will take your place as guardians of galactic civilization." The Federation fleet began to withdraw, their commanders finally understanding that the balance of power had shifted permanently. Humanity was no longer the galaxy's newest member. They were about to become its most powerful protectors. as the ancient ships began transmitting vast databases of knowledge to human vessels throughout the system. Susan realized that the age of human subservience was over. The real question now was whether humanity would prove worthy of the trust the progenitors had placed in them millions of years ago. Admiral Patricia Hayes received the emergency transmission while reviewing tactical reports in her quarters aboard the Earth Defense Command flagship Resolute. The message was brief but devastating. The Federation had issued an ultimatum to humanity. Share all progenitor technology within 72 hours or face expulsion from the galactic community and potential military action. She made her way quickly to the bridge, where her staff had already assembled the latest intelligence reports. The situation had deteriorated rapidly since the discovery of the Harbinger 3 weeks ago. Fear was spreading through the Federation as more progenitor ships revealed themselves to human crews across known space. "Status report," she ordered, as she settled into her command chair. Commander Helen Price, her tactical officer, activated the main display. 47 progenitor vessels have activated so far, all responding exclusively to human contact. The Federation Council is in emergency session, and preliminary reports suggest they're considering military intervention. Admiral Hayes studied the star chart showing progenitor ship locations. Each one represented power beyond imagination, and all of them had chosen humanity as their inheritors. It was both thrilling and terrifying. "What about our people aboard those ships?" she asked. "Dr. Martinez reports that the learning process is accelerating. Guardian is teaching selected humans to operate systems we never dreamed possible. But, Admiral, there's something else you need to see." The display shifted to show deep space sensor readings from the frontier sectors. Massive fleets were moving, not just Federation forces, but ships from species that had never worked together before. The discovery of progenitor technology was uniting humanity's rivals in fear and desperation. "They're planning something big," observed Dr. Robert Carson, the mission's scientific advisor. 17 different species have contributed ships to this armada. That's unprecedented cooperation. Before Admiral Hayes could respond, Guardian's voice filled the bridge. The ancient intelligence had been making contact with human commanders across the fleet, but this felt different, more urgent. "Admiral Hayes, the time for preparation has ended. The test begins now." "What test?" she asked aloud. "The final measure of humanity's worthiness. Your species has shown compassion and wisdom, but you have not yet faced the ultimate choice. Power without the temptation to abuse it is meaningless. True worthiness can only be proven under pressure." The sensor displays suddenly lit up with new contacts. The combined Federation fleet was dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation around the human positions. More than 300 warships from dozens of species, all armed with their most advanced weapons. "My God," whispered Commander Price. "It's the largest military force ever assembled." Ambassador Velthun's image appeared on the main screen, but he was no longer alone. Representatives from the Andromedian Hives, the Zephyrian Collective, and a dozen other major powers stood behind him. Their faces showed the same mixture of fear and determination. "Admiral Hayes," Velthun began, his voice carrying formal authority. "By unanimous vote of the Galactic Federation Council, humanity is ordered to surrender all progenitor technology immediately. Failure to comply will result in the complete isolation of your species." Admiral Hayes felt the eyes of her crew upon her. These were good people who had served faithfully, and now they faced an impossible choice. Surrender humanity's greatest discovery or fight a war they couldn't possibly win. "And if we refuse?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then we will take the technology by force," replied General Crixval of the Andromedian military. "We cannot allow one species to possess weapons that could destroy our entire civilization." Guardian's presence touched Hayes's mind, offering knowledge and power beyond imagination. She could feel the Harbinger's weapon systems online, ready to defend humanity against any threat. The other progenitor ships throughout the galaxy were also awakening to full combat capability. But something else came with Guardian's contact: understanding. This was the test the progenitors had designed. Would humanity use ultimate power to crush their enemies? Or would they find another way? Guardian, she said quietly, what would the progenitors have done in this situation? They would have shown mercy to those who acted from fear rather than malice, came the reply, but they would not have allowed themselves to be destroyed by lesser beings. The choice is yours, Admiral. You have the power to end this threat permanently. Hayes looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Dr. Carson was studying readouts. That showed just how outmatched the Federation fleet really was. Commander Price was calculating firing solutions that could disable hundreds of ships simultaneously. They were all waiting for her order. Open a channel to all Federation ships, she commanded. When the connection was established, Hayes stood up and faced the camera. She could feel Guardian's presence in her mind, offering her the words that would justify any action she chose to take. To all Federation commanders, this is Admiral Patricia Hayes of Earth Defense Command. I want you to understand something, very clearly. We have the power to destroy your entire fleet without suffering a single casualty. The progenitor weapons make your most advanced technology look primitive. Murmurs of fear and anger rippled through the Federation fleet. Some ships began powering additional weapons, while others started moving into more defensive positions. But, Hayes continued, her voice carrying absolute conviction, humanity chooses not to use that power against you. We recognize that your actions come from fear, not evil. You're terrified that we'll become the very thing you're accusing us of being, conquerors who use superior technology to dominate others. Ambassador Velthun's expression showed confusion and suspicion. Then you surrender the technology? No, Hayes replied firmly. We keep it, but we also prove that your fears are groundless. Guardian, demonstrate our defensive capabilities without harming anyone. The space around the human fleet suddenly filled with the most beautiful display any of them had ever seen. Progenitor ships materialized from subspace in perfect formation, their hulls glowing with power that made the stars seem dim by comparison. Energy fields formed geometric patterns between the vessels, creating a barrier that pulsed with rainbow colors. But the demonstration went beyond mere defense. The progenitor ships began broadcasting on all frequencies, sharing selected portions of their database with the Federation fleet, medical advances that could cure diseases plaguing dozens of species, agricultural techniques that could end hunger on overpopulated worlds, and clean energy systems that would revolutionize entire civilizations. This is what the progenitors left for the galaxy, Admiral Hayes announced. Not weapons of conquest, but tools of progress. Humanity will share these gifts freely with any species that chooses cooperation over confrontation. The Federation fleet was in chaos. Ship commanders were receiving data streams that contained solutions to problems they had struggled with for centuries. The Andromedians discovered cures for the genetic plagues that had killed millions of their people. The Zephyrians found terraforming, techniques that could make dead worlds bloom with life. Guardian's voice filled the space around both fleets. Behold the true test of worthiness. When offered ultimate power, humanity chose to heal rather than harm. When threatened with destruction, they responded with generosity rather than vengeance. This is why they were chosen. One by one, Federation ships began powering down their weapons. The massive armada that had come to destroy humanity was being undone by kindness and wisdom. Admiral Hayes felt tears in her eyes as she realized that the test was over, and humanity had passed. Ambassador Velthun's image flickered back to life, his proud features showing something Hayes had never seen before: humility. Admiral Hayes, I formally request permission to open negotiations for a new galactic accord. It appears we have much to learn from your species. As the immediate crisis passed, Hayes realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven worthy of inheriting progenitor technology, but now came the greater challenge, using that inheritance to build a better galaxy for everyone. 6 months after the confrontation that changed the galaxy forever, President Robert Carson stood in the observation lounge of Progenitor Station Alpha, watching construction ships from dozens of species working together to build humanity's first major installation using ancient technology. The massive space station would serve as both a research center and a symbol of the new age that was beginning. Dr. Lisa Martinez floated nearby, no longer quite human in the traditional sense. Her bond with Guardian had deepened over the months, giving her access to knowledge that spanned millions of years. She had become humanity's primary interpreter of progenitor wisdom, helping to guide the species through its transformation. "The Andromedians just delivered the final power coupling for the medical bay," she reported, her eyes glowing faintly with the neural modifications that allowed her to interface directly with progenitor systems. "Their engineers are actually eager to learn how it works." Carson smiled as he watched the alien work crews cooperating with human technicians. The fear and hostility that had dominated Federation politics for decades was giving way to curiosity and hope. Humanity's decision to share progenitor knowledge freely had transformed them from potential conquerors into trusted partners. "Any word from the deep space exploration teams?" he asked. "Commander Helen Price reports successful activation of 3 more progenitor installations in the Outer Rim territories. Each one contains specialized knowledge, one focused on terraforming, another on interstellar communication, and the third appears to be some kind of advanced manufacturing complex." The door to the observation lounge opened, and Admiral Patricia Hayes entered with Captain Susan Davis and Dr. Alan Foster. They had all been changed by their contact with progenitor technology, though not as dramatically as Lisa. The ancient ship seemed to choose different levels of integration based on each individual's role and capacity. The Federation Council just approved the final terms of the new Galactic Accord, Admiral Hayes announced. Humanity retains exclusive control over military applications of progenitor technology, but will share civilian advances through the Joint Research Program. Dr. Foster activated a holographic display showing the latest discoveries. "We've made incredible progress in just 6 months. The new medical techniques have eliminated 17 different diseases that were considered incurable. The agricultural improvements have ended food shortages on 43 worlds. And the energy systems," added Captain Davis, "are revolutionizing entire civilizations. Clean, unlimited power that doesn't harm the environment. Some species are calling it magic." Carson nodded approvingly, but his expression remained thoughtful. The responsibility of managing progenitor technology was enormous, and he felt the weight of it every day. "What about the military situation? Any signs of resistance to the new order?" "The Outer Rim Confederation tried to form an alliance against us last month," Admiral Hayes reported. "But when we offered them the same medical and agricultural advances we've given everyone else, they abandoned their plans. It's hard to maintain hatred when your children are no longer dying of preventable diseases." Lisa closed her eyes and communed with Guardian for a moment. When she opened them again, her expression was serious. "There's something else. Guardian has been preparing to show us the final piece of the progenitor legacy. Something they call the Transcendence Gate." "What does it do?" Carson asked. "It allows limited communication with the progenitors themselves. They didn't just vanish from the galaxy. They evolved beyond physical existence into something we can barely comprehend. But they've been watching, waiting to see if we would prove worthy of direct contact." The revelation sent a shiver through the group. They had grown accustomed to wielding technology beyond their ancestors' wildest dreams, but the idea of communicating with beings that had transcended physical reality was overwhelming. "Are we ready for that?" Dr. Foster asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Not emergency alarms, but the harmonic tones that indicated a major progenitor event was beginning. Lisa's eyes went wide as Guardian's presence filled her mind with urgent information. "It's happening now," she gasped. "Guardian says the galactic situation has stabilized enough. Humanity has passed all the tests. The progenitors are ready to make contact." They rushed to the station's central chamber, where a massive ring of progenitor technology was beginning to glow with power beyond measurement. The Transcendence Gate was activating for the first time in 27 million years. Other humans throughout the galaxy felt the awakening. Captain Jake Morrison aboard the Stellar Dawn, still exploring ancient sites in distant sectors. Engineer Maria Rodriguez, who had become humanity's leading expert on progenitor manufacturing systems. Dr. Kevin Thompson, working on advanced genetic therapies that could extend human lifespans by centuries. All of them turned toward the nearest progenitor installation as the gate opened a window between dimensions. The chamber filled with light that existed in colors human eyes had never seen before. A presence manifested in the room, not visible in any normal sense, but undeniably there. When it spoke, the words formed directly in their minds, carrying wisdom accumulated over eons. "Children of our legacy," the progenitor presence said, its voice holding both infinite patience and boundless love. "You have exceeded our greatest hopes. In 6 months you have achieved what we thought might take centuries. You chose wisdom over power, cooperation over domination, and healing over conquest." President Carson found his voice, though speaking to a transcended being felt surreal. "We tried to honor what we believed you would have wanted. You did more than honor our wishes," the progenitor replied. "You improved upon them. We expected you to use our technology to defend yourselves and explore the galaxy. We did not anticipate that you would freely share our gifts with the very species that threatened you." Lisa stepped forward, her connection to Guardian allowing her to serve as a more direct conduit. "What comes next? What do you need from humanity, now?" The answer came not in words, but in visions that filled their minds. Images of threats that lurked in the void between galaxies. Dark forces that had destroyed the progenitor's physical civilization and would one day turn their attention to the current galaxy, but also images of hope, humanity and their alien partners working together, wielding progenitor technology not just to defend their worlds, but to heal the damage those dark forces had caused elsewhere. "You are no longer our heirs," the progenitor presence declared. "You are our successors, carrying forward our work in ways we never imagined possible. The galaxy is yours to protect and nurture." As the presence began to fade, it left behind one final gift. Knowledge flowed into every human connected to progenitor technology. Not just information, but understanding. The secrets of dimensional transcendence, the true nature of consciousness itself, and the potential for organic life to evolve beyond physical limitations. "When you are ready," the progenitor said as its presence withdrew, "you will join us in this higher existence. But not yet. The galaxy needs its guardians, and you have proven yourselves worthy of that sacred trust." The Transcendence Gate powered down, leaving the humans in awed silence. They had been given not just technology but a glimpse of their species' ultimate destiny. Humanity would continue to grow and evolve, eventually transcending physical existence themselves. But for now, they had work to do. President Carson looked around at his companions, Dr. Martinez with her glowing eyes and direct connection to ancient wisdom, Admiral Hayes with her newfound understanding of defensive strategies that could protect entire star systems, Captain Davis with her ability to command ships that moved between dimensions. "Well," he said finally, "I suppose we'd better get to work. We have a galaxy to take care of." Outside the observation windows, construction continued on Progenitor Station Alpha. Human and alien workers labored side by side, building facilities that would serve as schools, hospitals, and research centers for dozens of species. Children from across the Federation would come here to learn, not just about technology and science, but about cooperation and compassion. The age of human subservience was over. The age of human leadership had begun. And throughout the galaxy, ancient ships continued to awaken, waiting patiently for worthy individuals to claim their inheritance and carry forward the greatest legacy the universe had ever known.